Our military veterans will tell you there is no greater love than when a man would give his own life for his brothers and sisters. Just imagine this is World War II, and you're one of 904 Army soldiers crammed into a small naval transport called the SS Dorchester. And you're out in the middle of the icy, cold Labrador Sea. You notice there are 4 men there who are military chaplains. Nice guys, but what good are they in a war? I mean, they cannot even carry a weapon. And then it happens. About 5 minutes before 1 a.m. in the morning, a Nazi submarine, Nazi, of course, being the National Socialist Party, fires torpedoes. And their goal is to blow all 904 men out of the water. What's going to happen? Today's program is an awesome story about the 4 chaplains, the famous 4 chaplains of World War II. It's an incredible example of patriotism, heroism, and personal sacrifice. Sadly, a story that has been erased and deleted from our history books, from our classrooms. Why? If you're a student of history, or maybe you're a student in high school or college, and you're looking for a very unique story to share, to write about, with lots of background information in primary sources, today you're going to hear about such a story. It's called The 4 Chaplains. Well, this is Ken Mercer of Mercer Moments in American History. And today, the question is, was there a Medal of Honor given to 1, 2, or 3 chaplains or 4 chaplains of World War II? And would that be a violation of the separation of church and state? You know, I love to wear my college outfits, but today I'm wearing the Air Force in honor of my father, Daniel Hall Mercer, all my family who served the Air Force, but in honor of all my friends, Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard. Of course, now we have the Space Force. Thanking them for their service and blessing them for their service. But what about military chaplains? Well, actually, it began in a thing called 1776. Remember that time? That was the birth date of our country. I know some of our colleges and universities argue that, but there was no United States of America until July 4th, 1776 period. But one of the first things that our Continental Congress passed was legislation to provide for military chaplains. This is at the request of General George Washington. He had ordered his officers to go to service on Sundays, and he felt by example the enlisted men would also follow. But he wanted military chaplains, and it's a tradition we've kept all these years. 250 years later, we still have military chaplains. Now, these 4 military chaplains, they all met in World War II for training at the Harvard School of Divinity. The military contracted with Harvard to train all chaplains of all faith. Now, you may not know this. Harvard was established in 1836. It's the oldest college in the United States of America. It came in 16 years after the 1620 Pilgrims. And are you ready for this? Harvard was established as a college to help train ministers of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I invite you, if you ever go on a tour of Harvard, to ask your tour guide to show you the original plaque, the original motto of Harvard University. So these 4 men, these 4 chaplains, military chaplains, met at the Harvard School of Divinity for their military training. Now let me step back and give a quick shout out and applause to David, Tim, and Cheryl Barton of Wall Builders, and Rick and Kara Green of the Patriot Academy. They've shared with me this group called the Black Robed Regiment. People who wore black robes during the Revolutionary War began in 1776, and the British would comment about who are these men in these black robes on top of the hills surrounding the battlefield, raising their arms and praying over the battle. Well, that's where military chaplains began. And again, a shout out to my friends, but a great level set. And the tradition carried on by these 4 chaplains. So again, these 4 chaplains were traveling to Dorchester across the icy cold waters going toward Greenland in the Labrador Sea. And it was a Methodist minister, a Catholic priest, a Jewish rabbi, and a minister, a Dutch Reformed pastor. And then it happened. About 5 minutes before 1 o'clock in the morning, a Nazi submarine fired not one, not two, but 3 torpedoes at the SS Dorchester with the goal of blowing up all 904 men. There were men who were killed instantly. They could not radio for help. There was no power. It was dark. Men were running all around calling for help. And that's when these 4 chaplains rose up. They began to calm everyone down, to pray for those who had been injured, get men to the lifeboats. There were 904 men, only 230 actually survived. There was one eyewitness, a private, William Bednar. He said, "I'm floating in the water, in the oil and fire, all the debris, and I could hear men crying, soldiers weeping and praying, pleading for help. But I could also hear these 4 chaplains, each one in their own language, in Latin, Hebrew, Dutch, and English, praying for these men and trying to encourage them." Another petty officer, John Mahoney, said that, "I ran back because I couldn't find my gloves. My pair of gloves, the water was so icy cold." And then Rabbi Good said, "Oh, I have 2 pair of gloves. Take one of mine." Other eyewitnesses testified they could not find life jackets. So apparently the 4 chaplains found that the room, broke it open, and began out passing life jackets to all the surviving soldiers and helping them get on the boats. And near the end, there were witnesses where each chaplain took off his own life jacket and gave it to another soldier. And one witness said, they didn't ask you, are you Jewish or Protestant or Catholic? They just gave you their own life jacket. The lifeboats were packed and the Dorchester sunk within 20 minutes. It was all underwater. But the eyewitnesses said they could see the 4 chaplains locked arm in arm, praying and singing together. And then you realize, one soldier said, I realized that the Jewish rabbi did not have 2 pair of gloves. He gave me the only pair he had. And each one of them did not have an extra life jacket. No, they gave the only life jacket they had. One soldier commented, "This is the greatest thing you'll ever see this side of heaven." Again, the eyewitnesses report the 4 chaplains were left on the boat going down. It sunk within 20 minutes. They were locked arm in arm, and you could hear prayers and hymns in English, Dutch, Latin, and Hebrew. The greatest thing you could ever see this side of heaven. And by 1:15 in the morning, it was all over. This is an incredible story. It's sad that it seems to have been erased or deleted, and it's a great story to tell again and again. In 1944, Congress gave the families of the 4 chaplains a Purple Heart and a Distinguished Service Cross. In 1948, the U.S. Post Office issued this famous stamp that I've shown you earlier about the immortal chaplains on the SS Dorchester. Throughout our country, there are several places on the East Coast where you'll find memorials or chapels dedicated where you can find more of the great pictures I've shared with you today in my research, and you can find many more stories of each of those families. In 1960, the United States Congress voted to give these 4 chaplains the Medal of Honor, the highest award we can give. But because of the stringent rules of the Medal of Honor, well, the chaplains didn't really quite qualify. So Congress decided to create a one-time special award, the Medal of Honor for chaplains. In fact, it's called the Medal of Honor for the 4 immortal chaplains. Gosh, what a wonderful story. And again, the students out there, there's tons of research and primary resources, and there's places to visit on the East Coast. You can learn so much more. At least let me share their 4 names. Lieutenant George L. Fox, a Methodist minister from Lewistown, Pennsylvania. Lieutenant John Washington, a Roman Catholic priest from Newark, New Jersey. Lieutenant Alexander Good, a Jewish rabbi from Brooklyn, and Lieutenant Clark Poling, Reformed Dutch Church of America from Columbus, Ohio. I hope you enjoyed today's program. And let me close by challenging you, if during the Veterans Week in November, or during Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Hanukkah, if you find some veterans or you run across active duty military in uniform, please stop and thank them for their service and bless them. And sometimes it's sad. It could be the youngest recruit. It could be the oldest, crustiest veteran. And they might get a little misty-eyed, because somebody said thank you. Somebody said, God bless you for your service. I've always told you, I believe that the strength of America, it's been our faith and our values. Our faith and values coupled with our worship has made us so strong, so powerful, so invincible, unconquerable. And obviously, when I say that, I think about the faith and values of our men and women in uniform. Let me finish with this. For 250 years, our national motto has been, in God we trust. In God we trust. And let me submit this to you. Even after 250 years, in God we still trust. In God we still trust. Thank you, my friends. God bless you. And may God bless and protect our military and their families.